Hey all, welcome back. It's me, Kevin, and in this video, I'm going to share with you 6 tips that will help you to negotiate a higher salary in your job for yourself. Whether you have just been given a new job offer or you're looking to get a pay rise, if you know that you deserve more than what you're currently getting, then you would want to keep the following tips I have for you in mind. The first tip to negotiating a higher salary for yourself is to talk about your values. I'm just going to start with the most important point of all because I find that a lot of people out there, they don't know what values they have and what they can bring to the table. If you really want to get a higher salary, then you need to know what your value is. You need to have a lot of evidence to back yourself up to show why you're worth that much. You can use past projects as evidence and what are your involvements in the projects, and especially tell them what are the results or the outcome in the project, such as did the project help the company increase profits, or maybe it helped the company reduce costs or save some efforts and time. You need to be able to tell people why you're recognized as a strong performer in those projects, a strong performer in your team, and be really assertive and tactical about this, but also remain calm and confident. One of the biggest things you can do when negotiating a higher salary is to always remain calm and stay confident, because that's how you get the person to listen to you. Don't get all angry or hasty because nobody likes that. The second tip to negotiating a higher salary is to do your own market research. Before you can even ask for a higher salary, you yourself first need to know what the market is willing to pay for someone with your credential and your level of experience. There are several ways you can do this. You can talk to headhunters, you can talk to recruiters, or you can even approach people on LinkedIn who has similar level of experience and job titles as you, and just create a friendly conversation with them and then slide in the questions when the time is right. Another way you can do this is to use Glassdoor, where people post up their salary for the company that they're working for, and all you got to do is just look for someone with a similar job title and then just have a look at where is the higher market and where's the lower end markets, and then just average them out. However it is that you want to do, just make sure to not use Google, because Google is not going to give you an accurate result just because it varies by region and areas and country. Definitely use more than one resource to determine your expected salary. Don't just rely on one person's information. Use multiple sources, get the average, use the average, and present that to your recruiter, your future employer, or your boss, and more often than not, the number you present to them, it will be a fair price. Speaking of price, here's tip number 3. When you're negotiating a higher salary, make sure that you're giving an exact number and not a salary range. When an employer asks what are your salary expectations, candidates tend to give a range because they're afraid that they might hurt their potential employer. And I've done this myself when I first joined the workforce, and it is one of the biggest mistakes I've ever made. Because if you're going to give a salary range, then the employer most likely is going to give you the lower end of the range because, hey, you're okay with that. From a hiring manager's perspective, it kind of shows that you're someone who is indecisive and you don't really know what you want to do. Find a number that you're happy with, a number that you deserve, a number that you think is fair, and make sure that it also lines up with the market rate. Now, when it comes to finding out the number you want, you're going to need to have 2 numbers. One is your ideal number and one is your willing to settle number. The ideal number is a number that you are more than happy to accept, as in this number is a lot higher than what you expect. The willing to settle number is a number that is justified, that is fair, and it also aligns with what you are worth. So the strategy here is to always give your ideal number, but just make sure your ideal number isn't too far away. I would say maybe about 5,000 more than what you expect. And when you present that number to your recruiter, 2 things can happen. The first one is they accept your offer, and then everyone is happy because you get your ideal number and they get you in return. The second thing is maybe the employer will try and say that the number you give is way too high and they might still try to keep you, so they will negotiate with you to bring that number a little bit down. But they are not going to go too far down. They are not going to go 10,000 below the number you asked for. Maybe they'll try $1,000 below or $2,000 below, which is good because you still have your willing to settle number and maybe it will fall down to that number instead. So remember, always give your ideal number, and then if they want to negotiate, they can still negotiate as long as it is still above or equal with the amount that you're willing to settle. Okay, the next tip, and this is my personal favorite, and that is to go into a negotiation with leverage. Whenever I try to justify for a higher salary, I always like to go into the negotiation by bringing in as much leverage as possible. So I would leverage on anything and everything that works in my favor. For example, you're out there looking for a job and you got a new job offer, but at the same time, you know that there will be other job offers coming in from different employers as well. What I would do is I would let the hiring manager or the recruiter or the headhunter know about this. I would tell them, just so you know that I'm considering multiple offers at the same time and this is number 2. I know this sounds really evil, but this is actually a strategy because this creates a scarcity mentality. And if they really like you, they are going to be willing to pay you more because then they don't want you to be snatched up by other competitors. However, if you're asking for a pay rise in your current job, then do not bring up the fact that you're waiting for multiple job offers from other employers. Instead, what you want to do is just give a hint to your manager what the current job market rate is. Because the thing is, if you're going to bring up job offers and then get a pay rise because of that, you're just going to be damaging your relationship with your current employer, and that just makes things awkward. Because to get a pay rise is more about proving why you stand out and why you're different. Just be sure not to talk bad about your colleagues because nobody likes that. Okay, the next tip to getting a higher salary is to time it appropriately. When you're in an interview, the only time you should bring up what your expected salary is when your employer asks you what is your salary expectation. Never ever bring up your salary expectation by yourself. They will definitely ask you that question, especially towards the end of the interview after they get to know you better. Do not bring this up by yourself because it just makes you look really money-minded, and that is not an impression you want to set for them. Now that is if you are getting a new job, but what if you want to get a pay rise? When is the best time to ask for an increase in salary? The best time to do this is actually to ask during your performance review because then it doesn't come as a surprise. During your performance review, you actually have a lot of chance to leverage on what you have achieved for the past year, what are your values, and why you are important to the team. Besides, you're going to be talking about all your achievements that you did in the past year anyway, so you might as well leverage on your performance review results whenever you can. Use this opportunity wisely to negotiate for a higher salary because that's when they're expecting it, and that is when they're most likely to give you their attention and listen to you. Okay, the last but not least, be humble and polite yet confident. The art of negotiation for a higher salary is always about communicating your values and your worth to your employer in a really nice manner. It is a negotiation. It is not about being aggressive or being greedy. It is about justifying why you're worth what you're worth. Make sure to go into a negotiation with a positive intention to increase your chances because nobody likes it when you're going in with a negative attitude. It just increases tension, it makes people angry, and no one wins at the end of the day. So now you know the tips to scoring a higher pay rise. If you have something to share, please do share it in the comments down below because we all want to know how to get a higher salary as well. That's all the tips for today. Thank you for watching and I'll catch you in the next one.